Today we'll be working in my workbook called The Promised Line from Isaac through Jacob, which covers Genesis chapters 25, verse 19 through chapters 31, verse 55. We've already handled the first 6 chapters. Yeah, the first 6 chapters. Excuse me. We have where Jacob and Esau were born in chapter 1, and the peace treaty that Isaac and Abimelech make together. Then we have Isaac, who's trying to bless Esau and ends up blessing Jacob. So here in chapter 3, we know Jacob now has both the birthright and the blessing. Then the wives for the sons, Jacob is sent away to their family in Haran to get some wives, and Esau marries some women from the Canaanites. On his way to Haran, Jacob sleeps and has the staircase to heaven where he sees angels ascending and descending. And then in chapter 6, Jacob arrives in Haran and lives with Laban and eventually marries Leah and Rachel after 7 years of labor, and also provides another 7 years after that for Rachel. So that's where we ended up. And so now we're going to be talking about Jacob's first 12 children are born, chapter 7. Jacob's first 12 children are born, Genesis chapter 29, verse 31 to chapter 30, verse 24. The scriptures start Genesis 29:31. When the Lord saw that Leah was not loved, he enabled her to conceive, but Rachel remained childless. Leah became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She named him Reuben, for she said, "It is because the Lord has seen my misery. Surely my husband will love me now." In this chapter, we should be able to figure the age difference of the people involved, as well as a little about each son or daughter. So, why did God enable Leah to conceive? Because he realized she had not been loved. What is the name of the first son? That is Reuben. Reuben means, behold, a son. What did Leah assume would happen when she gave birth to Reuben? That she would now be loved by her husband, Jacob. Based on page 74, what is the youngest Leah could be at this time? The youngest Leah could be is, what did we decide, 20? Since Jacob preferred Rachel to Leah, we can assume Leah got pregnant in the first week of marriage. That's true. We can assume that. Based on the table on page 4, if Jacob was 77 years of age when he came to Pandan Aram, after 7 years, how old is he now? That would be 84. He'd be 84 when Reuben was born, 84 years of age. Now, about Reuben, Bible scholars believe he was born around 1569 BC in Padan Aram. Aside from being the oldest son, Reuben will be known for 2 events. First, his concern for Joseph when the 10 oldest brothers throw him into a cistern in Genesis 37. And second, causes him to lose his birthright as the eldest. He sleeps with Bilhah, his father's concubine, in Genesis 35. All right. The scriptures continue. Genesis 29:33. She conceived again, and when she gave birth to a son, she said, "Because the Lord heard that I'm not loved, he gave me this one too." She named him Simeon. And again she conceived, and when she gave birth to a son, she said, "Now at last my husband will become attached to me because I bore him 3 sons." So he was named Levi. Did Leah have a second son? Yes. By this, we know that Jacob at least cared for her to sleep with her after the first week of marriage. What did Leah name the second son? Simeon. The name Simeon means to be heard. Did Leah have a third son? Yes. What was his name? Levi. Levi means joined in harmony. We're going to assume that each boy is a year apart due to the length of pregnancies that would at least be 9 months apart. So if Leah was as young as 20 when she got married to Jacob, then she'd be as young as 22 years of age when she had Levi. Regarding Simeon, Bible scholars believe he was born in 1568 BC. a year after Reuben, in Padan Aram. He is most known for his violence when Dinah was raped, or in some versions merely seduced, by a Canaanite named Shechem in Genesis 34. Simeon and his brother Levi took violent revenge against the inhabitants of the city by tricking them into circumcising themselves and then killing them when they were weakened. This is probably why he and Levi also do not get the blessing of the firstborn or be in the line of promise. Regarding Levi, Bible scholars do not have a good date for his birth, but we have to figure it was a year later than Simeon, or 1567 BC. Aside from the story above, Levi is best known as the priestly line, starting with Aaron, Moses' brother. The scriptures continue. Genesis 29:35. She, Leah, conceived again. When she gave birth to a son, she said, "This time I will praise the Lord." So she named him Judah, and she stopped having children. Did Leah once again conceive? Yes. What was this boy's name? Judah, and Judah means praise. What happened after Leah gave birth to her fourth child? Then she stopped having children. At this point, Leah would be no older than 23 years of age. Therefore, Rachel can be no older than 22. If Jacob was 77 when he arrived in Padan Aram, therefore 84 when he marries his sisters, he would be 88 years of age here. Laban, Rachel, and Leah's father would have been no younger than 130 years of age at this time. We will continue to see if all this works out. Judah. Bible scholars believe he was born in 1566 BC in Padan Aram. He is known most for his relationship with his daughter-in-law Tamar in Genesis 38, of which the line of promise to the Messiah comes. The personality of Judah seems to change in the 14 years from when he decides to sell Joseph to slave traders traveling nearby, Genesis 37, to when he offers his own life to his father. They don't bring Benjamin back to him after they travel to Egypt for food, Genesis 43. He is the son who gets the blessing of the firstborn. Why did Leah stop having children? There are actually several possible reasons. Medical, back-to-back pregnancies can deplete essential nutrients, making mothers at higher risk for anemia and other complications such as uterine rupture, and also putting their babies at risk of low birth weight and preterm birth. None of this would allow for good, strong boys born, so the Lord may have closed her womb for pregnancies for a while. Or jealousy. At this point, Rachel would have been really upset, therefore insisting on Jacob spending all of his time with her instead of her sister, who is quite busy with all the babies. And perception. Leah seems to be like many women who only feel value when they're pregnant. Perhaps the time is only a problem to her and no one else. The scriptures continue. Genesis 31. When Rachel saw that she was not bearing Jacob any children, she became jealous of her sister. So she said to Jacob, "Give me children or I'll die." Jacob became angry with her and said, "Am I in the place of God who has kept you from having children?" Then she said, "Here is Bilhah, my servant. Sleep with her so that she can bear children for me, and I too can build a family through her." What does Rachel feel like when her sister has had so many children? She's jealous. Does Jacob comfort her or confront her? More confront her, like it's not my problem you don't have children. Who does Jacob blame for Rachel not having children? God. What is Rachel's solution to her barrenness? Giving Bilhah, her servant, to Jacob to have children with. Bilhah becomes a concubine of Jacob. A concubine was a female slave responsible mainly as a surrogate mother to secure the continuance of the family name. At this time in ancient history, infertility carried great shame for women. It was common practice for a barren wife to provide a concubine to guarantee children to her husband. A concubine such as Bilhah was treated as a member of the family and a legitimate channel for heredity succession and inheritance. This comes from gotquestions.com. We do not know Bilhah's parents, nor her age when she's given to Jacob, nor her age at death. Rachel's barrenness. Like all other women in the Bible that are barren, when they have children, those children become very important to the family, as in the case of Joseph, or to the nation, as in the case of Samuel, Samson, and John the Baptist. God has perfect timing for all children. Barrenness could very well signal a special child is coming. The scriptures continue. Genesis 34. So she gave him her servant Bilhah as a wife. Jacob slept with her, and she became pregnant and bore him a son. Then Rachel said, God has vindicated me. He has listened to my plea and given me a son. Because of this, she named him Dan. Rachel's servant Bilhah conceived again and bore Jacob a second son. Then Rachel said, I've had a great struggle with my sister, and I have won. So she named him Naphtali. Did Bilhah become pregnant? Yes. What gender is this child? A boy. What is the name of this first child of Bilhah? Dan. The name Dan means God is my judge. Did Bilhah becomes pregnant a second time? Yes. The gender of this child? Boy. What is the name of the second child of Bilhah? Naphtali. The name Naphtali means wrestling or struggling. Dan. Bible scholars are not sure when he was born. He could have been born after Leah's fourth child or after her first child. However, he is considered the fifth child born to Jacob, so we'll consider his birth in the 5th year of marriage. The most significant characteristic of Dan is that his tribe, the tribe of Dan, is not listed as part of the 12 tribes of the 144,000 in Revelation 7. It is believed that this is because the tribe of Dan fell into idolatry. Naphtali. Bible scholars are not sure when he was born either. However, he would be 1 year younger than Dan, so probably in the 6th year of marriage. Although his tribe had both ups and downs, nothing significant exists regarding this tribe, other than the land of Naphtali is where the Sea of Galilee is and where the Messiah will grow up and have his ministry. The scriptures continue. Genesis 39. When Leah saw that she had stopped having children, she took her servant Zilpah and gave her to Jacob as a wife. Leah's servant Zilpah bore Jacob a son. Then Leah said, What good fortune! So she named him Gad. Leah's servant Zilpah bore Jacob a second son. Then Leah said, How happy I am, and the women will call me happy. So she named him Asher. Following Rachel's example, what does Leah do? She gives her servant Zilpah to Jacob as a wife. What is the first son's name of Zilpah? Dan, right? No, Gad. Sorry, Gad. Gad means fortune or luck. What's the second son's name of Zilpah? Asher. And the name Asher means happy or blessed. So Gad, Bible scholars have him born in 1564 in Padan Aram. If this is true, then both Dan and Naphtali have had to be born less than a year apart, and Bilhah had to have conceived right away after Judah was born. Nothing much is written of significance regarding Gad and his tribe, other than his tribe being mighty. This is stated both by Jacob in his blessing and Moses when they are about to enter the promised land. Asher, we will assume at this point that he's born in 1563 in Padan Aram. If all this timeline is true, then we are still in the second 7 years of service. Jacob is giving to Laban, which follows Bible chronology at this time. Second 7 years of service, Jacob is giving to Laban. Okay. The only general trend we see about the tribe of Asher is that they're content, happy, and owning fertile lands. Scriptures continue. Genesis 30:14. During wheat harvest, Reuben went out into the fields and found some mandrake plants, which he brought to his mother Leah. Rachel said to Leah, Please, give me some of your son's mandrakes. But she said to her, Wasn't it enough that you took away my husband? Will you take away my son's mandrakes too? Very well, Rachel said. He can sleep with you tonight in return for your son's mandrakes. During what harvest does this take place? This is during the wheat harvest. This means it's during the spring or summer of that year. What did Reuben bring to his mother Leah? Mandrakes. Mandrakes are Mediterranean plants with blue flowers in the winter and yellow plum-like fruit in the summer. Reuben would have been no older than 6 years of age. What did Rachel want? The mandrakes. Mandrakes were desired in many cultures because of a belief that it's an aphrodisiac and promotes fertility. These qualities, coupled with the fact that it was only rarely found in Padan Aram where they lived, explains why both Leah and Rachel desired the plant. What does Rachel trade for the mandrakes? Allowing Leah to sleep with him on that night so she can have the mandrakes. The scriptures continue. Genesis 30:16. So when Jacob came in from the fields that evening, Leah went out to meet him. You must sleep with me, she said. I have hired you with my son's mandrakes. So he slept with her that night. God listened to Leah, and she became pregnant and bore Jacob a fifth son. Then Leah said, God has rewarded me for giving my servant to my husband. So she named him Ishkar. What is Jacob probably harvesting for Laban? The wheat. What justification does Leah use to have Jacob sleep with her that night? That she sold mandrakes for the right to be able to sleep with him. Did Leah become pregnant? Yes. What is the name of this son? Ishkar. The name Ishkar means his reward has come. Now, regarding Ishkar, or the tribe of Ishkar, Bible scholars do not give a birth date for Ishkar, but he is considered the ninth son. So he had to have been born after Asher, but probably still in the year 1563 BC, since Leah could have been pregnant just after Zilpah got pregnant a second time, which may be necessary to have 12 children in 7 years. Ishkar and the tribe of Ishkar is not known for anything particularly special. The scriptures continue. Genesis 30:19. Leah conceived again and bore Jacob a sixth son. And Leah said, God has presented me with a precious gift. This time my husband will treat me with honor because I have borne him 6 sons. So he named him Zebulun. Sometime later, she gave birth to a daughter and named her Dinah. Did Leah get pregnant again? Yes. What is the name of this son? Zebulun. The name Zebulun means exalted house. Did Leah have another child? Yes. And this gender was female. The name of this child was Dinah. The name Dinah means judged or vindicated. The tribe of Zebulun. Bible scholars do not know when Zebulun was born, other than it's definitely after Judah, like Leah's prior son, and based on the number given soon after Ishkar. Nothing unique is known about Zebulun or his descendants. Dinah, she's the only known daughter of Jacob and had to be born in about 1562 BC, which is the last year of Jacob's 7-year commitment to work for Laban. Although twice we have reference to the daughters of Jacob, both in Genesis 37:35 and Genesis 46:15, Bible scholars believe that these are really daughters-in-law. She is most known for the story already shown under Simon and Levi. Dinah was raped, or in some versions merely seduced, by a Canaanite named Shechem in Genesis 34. Simeon and his brother Levi took violent revenge against the inhabitants of the city by tricking them into circumcising themselves and then killing them when they were weakened. Leah and her handmaid Zilpah are now finished as far as having children. Leah has borne Jacob 6 sons and a daughter, and Zilpah, her maid, has borne Jacob 2 sons. The scriptures continue. Genesis 30:22. Then God remembered Rachel. He listened to her and enabled her to conceive. She became pregnant and gave birth to a son and said, God has taken away my disgrace. So she named him Joseph and said, May the Lord add to me another son. Finally, Rachel has her first child 7 years after she was married to Jacob. If God listened to Rachel, what was Rachel doing in order to be heard? Praying, crying out to God. Did she get pregnant? Yes. What was the son's name? Joseph. The name Joseph means that God will give. What does Rachel immediately ask for after the birth of Joseph? What does Rachel immediately ask for after the birth of Joseph? Another son. Another son. Rachel will indeed have another son, but that will be on her deathbed many years later. That son will be Benjamin, the last son of Jacob. Joseph would have to be born the same year as Zebulun and could easily be born before Dinah, as her birth would not be counted in the line of succession. He also would have been born in the last year of Jacob's initial 7 years of labor to Laban. Joseph becomes very important in the survival of the family. How old is everyone else? So far, our calculations have been correct. Jacob, if he was 77 when he came to Padan Aram, he will now be 91, which is 14 years later. Laban, if he was 119 when he first met Jacob, he would now be 133 years of age. Leah, if she was 14 when she first met Jacob, she is 28 years of age now. Rachel, if she was 12 years of age when she first met Jacob, she's 26 years of age now. All the sons and daughter ages would be, at this point in time, Reuben 7, Simeon 6, Levi 5, Judah 4, Dan 4, Naphtali 3, Gad 2, Asher 1, Ishkar 1, Zebulun, Dinah, and Joseph are less than a year of age. So that makes all 12 sons born in the 7 years that they were in Padanaram. Not all 11 sons. Benjamin is going to be born in Canaan. So we come to the crossword. Number 3, let me make sure I have the answers here. Who is the mother of Gad and Asher? That would be Leah. Oh, excuse me, 3 cross, sorry. Zilpah. Let me get this straight. That's why I have to have the answers here. What did Reuben bring to his mother? Number 4, mandrakes. Number 7, who is Leah's third born son? 7, Levi. Number 8, what is the name of Rachel's son? Joseph. Number 9, who's the only daughter of Jacob? Dinah. 1 down, who is the mother of Issachar and Zebulun? That would be Leah. Who is the mother of Dan and Naphtali? That would be Bilhah. Who is Leah's firstborn son? That would be Reuben. Who is Leah's second-born son? That would be Simeon. Who is Leah's fourth-born son? Judah. So that's the end of this chapter. Even though it says 12 children, we only know of Benjamin. He has not been born yet. So this is the end of this chapter. Thank you.